We're ready.
Okay.
How about you tell us about the sports classes that you teach?
Yeah, it's something that's relatively new here at Quinnipiac, and probably the most popular class is sports reporting. Everybody that wants to get into sports loves the class because they get to kind of roll up their sleeves and do things. They actually got to get out to cover games. They can do play-by-play if that's their interest. They can write articles if that's their interest. They can do interviews. So we get them involved in that kind of a process. In fact, that really is the way I like to teach classes. Instead of me just getting up there and lecturing for an hour and a half or 2 hours, I like to get the students involved and actually have them get firsthand knowledge of what they're doing. The other class, another very popular one, is sports event planning, which is very popular with PR majors, people that want to get into either event planning or get into sports. And we actually do projects, and not just on campus. One of the popular ones we've done on campus in the past is called Pack the House. And usually what I try to do is get them to pack the house for a women's basketball game, which is probably the hardest one to pack the house with. And they've done a very good job on that over the past years. This semester, the class is doing a project called College Night with one of the minor league baseball teams in Connecticut. We're trying to get as many students to college night as we can. So, it's a challenge to them, and they actually get to find out what it's like to do these things on their own. So it's kind of fun.
The event planning class, is that just for Quinnipiac sports? Or you just said something about the minor
Yeah,
league
no,
team?
we've done a number of different things on the outside. We had a seminar with the New York Mets one year. We did a project with the Metro Stars, which is a professional soccer team. We've done minor league hockey teams and baseball teams here in Connecticut. So we definitely go off campus and they get a little bit of a taste of what it's like in the real world.
What's the third class that you teach?
The third class is called Audio Projects, and I gear it towards sports.
Oh, okay.
So basically we do sports talk shows, we do live broadcasts, just to kind of get them the feel of what it's like to get behind the microphone and be behind the scenes to put a show like that together.
And how long have these classes been offered, or how long have you been teaching them?
Well, sports event planning probably is the newest, and this is, I think, the 5th semester that we're doing it, so it hasn't been around all that long. Sports reporting probably was the one that got it started, and that is probably maybe about 6 years old. But again, for students that want to get into sports, and it seems these days a lot of people want to get into sports, it's a great class to take. And I try also to take the approach that, I just don't paint this rosy picture of how great the business is. I mean, I try to be realistic and tell them, what it really is like to get a job, to keep a job, to work in the business. And they get entertained by a lot of the stories. I mean, I've been in the sports business for 30 years, and I've been at CBS Radio in New York for 20 years, and so I've got a lot of stories to tell, and I think that helps kind of focus in on what the business is really all about.
Just out of curiosity, what's like the girl-to-guy ratio in these classes?
It differs from class to class. The sports reporting class is probably more male-dominated than female, although there are a number of females a number of women that want to get into sports. The event planning classes probably tend to be more women students than men students, but it really it's wide open for anybody that wants to take it.
And for your sports reporting classes, do the students put together packages and like?
They put together TV packages, they put together radio shows, they put together interviews, they go out and cover games and write game summaries. So it spans the whole spectrum of print and broadcast journalism, radio and TV. So you get a little bit of a taste of all of it.
Yeah. Are there packages and stuff ever used for like QNN or Q30 here, or are they just strictly for?
They do. In fact, the sports reporting class, one of the requirements of the class is that the students have to be involved in some kind of an out-of-class project. They can do QAQ, campus radio station, they can do the Chronicle, they can do Q30, or they can do, they can use internships, but they have to participate in something outside the class where they're putting the skills that they're learning in class into use. Yep.
Wow.
You know, and one of the other things that really gets students involved in sports, especially, you know, the real diehards, I broadcast the hockey and basketball games on WQUN, which is the commercial radio station, and we do a package of probably 10 television games between hockey and basketball. So we get as many students involved in those broadcasts as we possibly can. We have students who are producers in the studio at the radio station. We have on-site producers, and these people actually take part in on-the-air broadcast. They do scoreboard updates, they do scouting reports at the games, so they really get a taste of what it's like to do a live sports event.
And why do you think the interest is so towards sports rather than other beats?
You know what? It's a glamorous profession. It looks so great. You know, people tell me, "Wow, what a great way to make a living." You go and show up and sit down and talk about a game. See, they don't realize everything that goes into it, the preparation that goes into doing a broadcast. You know, people ask me, even to do the Quinnipiac broadcasts, you know, if the broadcast lasts for 2 to 3 hours, I probably do 4 to 6 hours of preparation before I even get to the game. So, you know, there's a lot more that goes into it than people think. It's not just showing up and being at a sporting event. And that's what I try and, you know, show the students that, you know, there actually is some work that goes into this. And the better prepared you are, the better broadcaster or writer you're going to be.
So you gotta like sports.
Well, yeah, you do. But what, you know, you do for the sports reporting. But when you get into sports event planning, I tell them you don't have to know anything about sports to do sports event planning, because it doesn't have anything to do with the sport itself. It has to do with everything that goes on around the sport. So there are a lot of people that get into it that really aren't sports fans, but they are event planning fans, public relation fans, and they get to do their job, and they get to do it around a sporting event.
What kind of jobs do you see for your former students?
Somewhere.
going into?
Well, you know what, they've done it, some of them have landed in some pretty good places. I had one student a couple of years ago, Greg Glynn, and right out of college got a job as a broadcaster for one of the American Hockey League teams in Portland, Maine. And I mean, that's, you know, one step away from the NHL, the big time. So he really, you know, landed pretty well. And there have been some others that have gotten TV jobs, that have gotten radio jobs, that have done extremely well just right out of Quinnipiac.
That's good.